King Nebuchadnezzar saw the mighty hand of God at work in Daniel's life. He began to recognize the power of the living God over his useless and powerless pagan gods and idols. The king made a decree and said, "It has seemed good to me to declare the signs and wonders which the Most High God has done for me. How great are his signs and mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation." Soon after the king spoke this decree, he was lying in his bed and had a dream. In this dream, he saw visions that made him very fearful. So he called in the wise men of his kingdom, but not one of them could tell him what his dream meant. Then he remembered how Daniel had interpreted his last dream through the mighty power of God, and quickly called for Daniel to come before him. When Daniel arrived, the king told him his fearful dream. King Nebuchadnezzar said, "I saw these visions in my mind as I was lying on my bed. I saw a tree in the middle of the earth. The tree grew large, and its height reached the sky. The tree could be seen by the whole earth. Its leaves were beautiful, and it had so much fruit that it was food for all people. The animals of the field found shade under it, and all the birds in the sky lived in its branches. All living creatures fed themselves from it. As I was looking at all this, an angelic being came down from heaven. He shouted out and said, 'Chop down the tree and cut off its branches. Strip off its leaves and scatter the fruit. Let the animals run from under it and the birds fly from its branches. Yet leave the stump of the tree with its roots in the ground, but with a band of iron and bronze around it, in the grass of the field. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven, and let him share the grass of the earth with the animals. Let his mind be changed from that of a man to the mind of an animal, and let 7 periods of time pass over him.' Then I heard the angelic being say, 'This decision is a command of the holy ones, in order that the living may know that the Most High is ruler over the kingdom of all mankind, and gives it to whom he wishes, and sets over it the lowest of men.'" When Daniel heard the dream, he became so alarmed that the king said, "Daniel, do not let this dream or its interpretation alarm you." But Daniel replied, "O king, if only the dream applied to those who hate you and its interpretation to your enemies. The tree that you saw, O king, is you. You have become great and grown strong, and your majesty has become great and reached to the sky and to the end of the earth. Now this is the interpretation from the Most High, O king. Just as the tree was chopped down, your kingdom will be taken away from you, and you will be driven away from mankind to live with the animals in the field. You will eat grass like the cattle, and be drenched with the dew from heaven. You will be like this for 7 periods of time, until you recognize that the Most High is ruler over the kingdom of all mankind, and gives it to whomever he wishes." When the angelic being said to leave the stump with the roots of the tree, this meant that your kingdom will be given back to you, only after you recognize that it is heaven that rules. Therefore, O king, break away from your sins and leave all wickedness behind. Show mercy and kindness to the poor, and then possibly your kingdom will continue. Daniel left, and for the next 12 months King Nebuchadnezzar ruled just as he had before the dream. In the 12th month, the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon. He proudly said to himself, "Look how great Babylon has become. I myself have built this city by the might of my power and for the glory of my majesty." As soon as these words came out of his mouth, a voice from heaven said, "I declare right now that you have been removed from your kingdom. You will be taken away from all mankind, and will live with the animals in the field and eat grass, just as they do. 7 periods of time will pass until you recognize that the Most High God rules over the kingdom of man and gives it to whomever he wishes." When King Nebuchadnezzar heard this word, he immediately found himself in the field, eating grass like the cattle, and his body drenched with the dew from heaven. As time passed, his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle, and his fingernails looked like a bird's claw. At the end of the 7 periods of time, King Nebuchadnezzar came to his senses and looked to heaven and said, "O Most High God, who lives forever, your dominion is an everlasting dominion, and your kingdom endures from generation to generation. Your will reigns on this earth and among the people of the earth. We cannot escape your power or question your decisions." When King Nebuchadnezzar said these words from his heart, God restored the king's splendor and majesty that he had taken away. He was given back his kingdom, and it was even greater than before. Then King Nebuchadnezzar said, "Now I, King Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, and honor the King of heaven, for all his works are true and his ways are just. He is able to humble those who walk in pride and do not give all the glory to him." From that time forward, King Nebuchadnezzar would reign in Babylon until his death.